And topping the news at 5:30, despite losing in Tuesday's primary, Buffalo's acting mayor Chris Scanlon still has a job to do. He joins us now for our monthly Ask the Mayor segment.
Mayor, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Especially given Tuesday's results. First, given Tuesday's results, have you made a decision about what you intend to do in November, and what will that be?
No. Well, you know, I can tell you this, that during the primary, and I mentioned it there, just the amount of support that we had during the primary was incredible, and I would tell you that that hasn't stopped in the last 40 hours or so. The calls, the texts that I've received encouraging me and the team to continue on through November has been incredible and very motivating. But obviously, we're having some conversations. Haven't had a lot of time to have conversations with some of the major people who would be involved in that. So we'll continue to have those conversations over the next few days and then make an announcement.
The deadline to make that decision to come off the ballot is tomorrow. Is that correct?
To come off of the line, yeah. If I was going to decline the line, I believe that deadline is tomorrow.
Because what and this is just logistics, to be honest. You have taken out petitions for a third independent line, right?
Correct.
And then, so if you were to make a decision tomorrow, the decision would have to be whether to continue on that line or take yourself out of that line. Is that
correct?
Okay, thank you. Yeah. I just wanted to make that. Thank you.
We heard in your speech Tuesday night. You know, you hear from your supporters, it's not over, never give up, things like that. Are those things, too, seeing the energy and support still from all your supporters out there, is that something you're really taking into consideration as well?
Oh, for sure. Like I said, during the campaign, during the primary campaign, it was incredible, the amount of support, the hundreds of volunteers, the number of people knocking on doors, things like that, the thousands of people that voted for our candidacy. But that hasn't stopped. You saw it the other night. A tremendous showing of support after the results came in, and that has continued all day yesterday and so far today. People calling, texting, you know, urging me and the team to make sure we stay in this to November. And again, it's just a matter of having a couple conversations before we make any sort of announcement.
The numbers are really hard to ignore. Tuesday, you had 5 candidates. Mm-hmm. You had a very low voter turnout, around 27-28%, and you lost by about 3,000 votes. How do you intend, if these conversations steer you in the direction of running, how do you make up 3,000? Now, this is a political question. How do you make up 3,000 votes in that kind of a race?
Yeah, you know, obviously it's different when you're talking primary versus general election, maybe who the voter is, who comes out for that, again. Sure. And that stuff we'll get into after we make an announcement. But again, you're looking at a larger electorate, things like that. But again, those are details we'd get into down the road.
While we're talking about voter turnout, was there anything that surprised you, be it the early voting numbers or maybe a district in particular, anything like that?
Oh, yeah, I think the overall result caught me off guard. We felt very confident going into Tuesday about what the result was going to be. You know, I thought we had a message that was resonating with people. Obviously, in a primary election, you get certain type of voter as opposed to a general election, and for one reason or another, the message wasn't resonating with those who turned out to vote on Tuesday. And you know, we try to get as many of our supporters out as possible. Maybe we didn't do a good enough job at that. But again, over the course of the next few days, we'll continue to have those conversations about moving forward.
You haven't made the decision, but I am curious about the sort of what is around that decision. What do you think it would take to nudge you in the direction of running in November? What is it about the conversations that you would have? What are the hang-ups? What is maybe the question that is still in your mind that's lingering out there that's still unanswered about that decision? Again, not making a decision, but what is it around that?
Yeah, you know, a lot of these conversations you have, and when you're making a decision like this, it doesn't just impact you. Mm-hmm. Right? If it only impacted me, it's very easy for me to make the decision, but there's other people in my life, whether it's family or other people, that these decisions can impact. So it's about having those conversations and making sure that everyone's on the same page.
Well, we will certainly wait to see what that decision will be. As we said in the introduction, though, the day-to-day mayoral work continues. Summer is here. We've had a hot stretch of days. Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about splash pads, getting the cooling centers open and getting the pools ready to open as well.
Yeah, it's that time of the year. It took long enough, right? It took about 8 months for us to get some nice warm weather, but it's finally here, and you know, we're fully operational. Our pools will be open on July 1st. We have a full complement of lifeguards. The Department of Public Works did a tremendous job the last year and a half, advertising for and recruiting lifeguards after we experienced that shortage a couple of years ago, but they did a tremendous job. So our splash pads, our pools, our cooling centers, everything will be operational should they be needed.
We are going to continue to ask about things that are going on in the city, but another question just popped into my mind. And this is, and I want to be candid and honest with you because I'm curious about what it would take and what it would feel like. I'm sure you've gamed this out in your head to go back to, after a hard-fought campaign, after being the acting mayor of the Queen City and doing a job admirably for 7 months, what would it feel like? And have you thought about that, to go back to the council president position that you have, again, served admirably for a number of years?
It's all about public service, right? I grew up in a house that was very strongly focused on public service. It's something that's in my bones. So again, whether it's operating as mayor and the council, whenever I've had the opportunity to serve in public service, it's been a great honor. So whatever the capacity is that I'm able to serve this community, I'm more than open to it.
Talk about growing up. You had mentioned you had also growing up taken part in the Police Athletic League programs. We're seeing an expansion of those programs to get even more families and kids involved. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I can tell you growing up, I took part in PAL baseball, PA basketball, things like that. And they were a tremendous opportunity for me just not to get out and exercise and play sports, things like that. But the relationships I made through some of those organizations are friendships that I still have to this day, 30 plus years later. And it's a great opportunity for kids to get out and experience things, and it's not just sports anymore, which is incredible. There's cooking classes, there's all kinds of things available. We're expanding it this year. There's the traditional offering, but also golf, things like that. So I would encourage everyone to visit the website buffalopl.com to sign up for some of the programs.
We were looking across some of the real estate, and our producer had found one of the parking ramps that was up for sale. It had been, I believe it had been estimated on Pearl Street. I don't know if that is one of the parking ramps that is in the consideration of your plan, but I'm curious where that plan is now. Have you made any progress? Where are we with that?
Yeah, right now we've been meeting all throughout this internally. Next step is appointing members to that authority. So we're going through names now, trying to find some people with the right qualifications, right background, to make sure that they're the proper appointees to that board.
Do you have a deadline under which you need to form the board in order to sell those off and make it right for the budget, I guess, a budgetary deadline?
There's no hard deadline, obviously, but we're moving as quickly as we possibly can. We had started meeting before legislation was even passed, and asking questions internally, what would the next steps should we receive the authorization from New York State, and thankfully we did. And so again, we're meeting internally. We'll continue to do that and move things along as quickly as possible.
There's also the matter of Sylvias House. It's been in the news this week. Oral arguments are Friday. Remind everyone what exactly the city's stance is here.
Yeah, so I want to be very clear because I think there's been some misinformation out there about where the city stands. First of all, we'll do anything we can to help the homeless population or disabled members of this of our community to receive the treatment or the services that they need. This operation is operating illegally. They did not receive permits, licenses to be there, but there are at times 60 plus people being housed there. But we have to make sure it's safe for them first and foremost. We don't know the condition of the building. You can't just open one of these. This is New York State law that we're adhering to and making sure that everyone is safe. We communicated that to them and to the county, who has a contract with Sylvias House for operating some of these locations. But again, our big concern is safety. We want to make sure that not only are the members who are placed there, the community members who are placed there have a place, but also the wraparound services that they might need as well, which I don't think were being provided as well. So again, first and foremost, it's a public safety thing and a New York State law situation where that wasn't adhered to. So we'll continue to work with whoever we need to make sure that the members of our community who are there are looked after.
Excellent. Acting Mayor Chris Scanlon, we appreciate you joining us. I said this to Chris during the break. We did not expect him to show up here after Tuesday's loss because it was such a heart-wrenching loss, and obviously it was very emotional. But you showed up here, and you clearly have a job to do, and I think that shows a lot about your character.
I appreciate it.
And we appreciate it, Chris. We really do.
Thank you. Thank you both.